Hi, I'm Cheryl Nason, and I'd like to welcome you to Conversations Cafe. We have as our guest today Diane Holloway, and we're going to talk about her really go-getter book that's titled Death, Taxes, and a French Manicure, and it's the first in the Tara Holloway series. Diane, welcome.
Hey, great to be here.
Well, it's really a pleasure to meet you. I really enjoyed the book.
Good. I'm glad you did. I enjoyed writing it too. It was a lot of fun.
How did this all happen? Are you one of those authors that's always been a writer? What's your story? What's your background?
Well, it's a very roundabout story, but I'd be glad to tell you. When I was growing up, I always loved writing in school. I was always the one that the teacher would say, "Oh, Diane's work is so good," and I'd sit down and my pen would just be on fire anytime we had a writing assignment. But I think if anyone had asked me, do you want to be a writer when you grow up, I would have thought, well, that's what interesting people do. And I was just this pimple-faced, scrawny girl from the Austin suburbs and had never really done anything very exciting. So I don't think that I would have felt like I had the confidence, to be a writer. But I had spiral notebooks that I'd hide under my bed, and I'd scribble in those. And I was writing poetry at the time, but I called them song lyrics because that just sounded cooler, But when it came time to pick a major for college, even though I still liked writing in high school, I just still would have thought, that's a pipe dream. I don't really have anything to say that anybody would want to read. So I talked to my mom, and she said, well, you know what, if you don't know what you want to do, major in business, can't go wrong with a business degree. So I majored in accounting, and then in my college courses, I really liked my government class. My mom said, well, if you like government, why don't you go to law school? So, okay, I went to law school. So when I got out of law school, my first job as a baby attorney, because I had the accounting background, I went to work for the Attorney General's office down in Austin, and they assigned me to represent the State Board of Accountancy. And this was going to be in disciplinary actions against CPAs, and this is way back before Enron or Tyco, WorldCom, any of that stuff. So I thought, well, disciplinary actions against CPAs, that can't be much work. They're surely, CPAs are these straight-laced,
Poindexter people.
Exactly,
yeah.
yes. And boy, was I shocked. It was an eye-opener. There was CPAs committing all kinds of financial atrocities, faking up financial statements for their clients and, purposefully overstating things on financial statements, issuing cleaned audit opinions on financial statements that were, obviously fraudulent, all kinds of things. Some of them were influenced by their clients. I think were intimidated by their clients. Some of them were in cahoots with their clients. But it was a real eye-opener. And then come to find out, the Attorney General I was working under at the time got criminally indicted for diverting money from the tobacco company lawsuits to his cronies' law firms when they had done little or no work on the cases. So here I was working for the person who's supposed to be the ultimate symbol of justice in the state of Texas, and he's engaging in criminal behavior. So it kind of led to this interest in white-collar crime. And then I went to work for a major accounting firm in San Diego. My husband got a fellowship out there. He's a scientist, and worked out there, worked with this guy who at the time was a senior manager, squeaky clean guy, looked like Pee Wee Herman, pale skin, dark hair, not very big, nice guy, just squeaky clean though. And years later, he was arrested in one of the biggest tax shelter fraud cases in U.S. history. So
wow.
It just seemed like every time I turned around, I was working for white-collar criminals, unintentionally. But that led to a fascination with white-collar crime. Why do people do it? Is it power? Is it greed? Is it, something else? What is it? Ego? Do they think that, because they're smarter than other people and they can get away with it, is that why they do it? It led to this fascination. And I had some kids, somewhere along in there, and once they got old enough that I kind of had a little time to myself, I thought, what, I want to write again. I really miss that. But at that point, I thought it'll just be a hobby, and so I took a continuing education class at the local college, and that kind of kick-started things again. And at first, I just wrote for fun, but I joined a critique group, and we met every week, and we'd critique each other's work. And as things went on, I joined a writing organization, and it started getting more serious about it. And I looked around at the other writers, and I thought, they don't look any different than I am. Their lives aren't any more interesting than mine. In fact, I think if our lives had been interesting, we wouldn't feel the need to escape into our books and to write these, crazy stories.
So funny.
But anyway, so I wrote a couple things that are under my bed and deserve to be under my bed. Those were my practice manuscripts. But I was sitting in, with my tax background, I was doing tax law at this point in time, and I went to a tax seminar. And it was a 3-day, seminar on the minutia of partnership law and corporate law. And yeah, exactly.
Just shoot me, kill me now, you know?
So by the third day, I was about ready to just jump out the window, you know, because even though, you know, I enjoyed my tax career, these seminars are not very interesting.
I'm sure.
But a guy took the stand, and he was a criminal defense attorney, and he started talking about these people called IRS special agents and how they were the tax cops of the IRS. They carry guns, they carry pepper spray, handcuffs, and they're criminal law enforcement that go after people like Bernie Madoff and tax evaders. And I thought, I've been in the tax world, you know, at that point for 15 years, and I'd never even heard of these people. So I thought, that's, you know, might make an interesting character for a book, and I don't think anyone's done that before. So that was sort of how I got the idea for this particular series.
That's where Tara Holloway was born.
Right, right. Out of boredom.
Out of boredom in a seminar. But you know what? People talk about, authors specifically talk about writing things that you know. And if all of those years ago you hadn't made the decision to go into law, to go into accounting, Tara Holloway character might never have come to you because you wouldn't have that background.
Right, that has crossed my mind before. I definitely feel like there's been a path. I've been sort of forced onto a path to this. And, you know, no one thing is right for us necessarily at each point in our life. So I think I was meant to do all of that to get to this point. You know?
Well, the book, and I have to be careful because I have obviously read the book, and I will tend to just launch into you and I talking about the book, and we'll leave our proverbial listeners in the dust. So let's give them just a little bit of a thumbnail sketch about death taxes and a French manicure. Let's tell them what it's about.
Okay. It's about a rookie IRS agent. She's just joined the IRS Criminal Investigations Department, and she's working on two cases. One, she's been assigned to work with a DEA agent to go after an ice cream man who's dealing drugs off his truck. And it's funny because, you know, I made that up, and since then I've heard of real life ice cream men dealing drugs off their truck. I guess it's, you know, real easy. You're making your rounds, and it's real easy to do those transactions when no one's seeing.
What is it they say about life imitating art and art imitating
exactly,
life? I mean,
right. So that's one of her cases. And that case, there's a lot of humor there because she's teamed up with a female agent, and they have to go undercover and dress kind of skanky, and they're in the bad part of town. So that's a lot of fun. And then the other case she actually comes up with on her own. She's got a new boyfriend. His name's Brett, and he just seems perfect. But she's starting to get some clues that there's something shady going on with one of Brett's clients, who is the president of a bank, and she thinks Brett may be involved in that. So she's kind of torn between, you know, her heart and her duties as an IRS agent to figure out how she's going to handle all this.
Now, this is fairly violent. I mean, there's some violent scenes in this book. There's gunplay. In one of the first scenes in the book, Tara Holloway, who is the rookie IRS agent, is in a tax audit, and her partner, Eddie, just goes to the bathroom and leaves her alone, and the client comes in, attacks her with a box cutter, slices her open, and is ready to kill her because his tax audit is not going to go well. Where in the world did you talk to the IRS agents, and is this something that's happened?
This is sort of the Hollywood version of what they go through.
I hoped maybe that was.
But there was the guy who flew his plane into the IRS building in Austin. You know, so there are people who get very upset. You know, and I did interview some agents. They were wonderful. They gave me all kinds of good information, and they do face somewhat similar stuff. You know, I don't think that they're nearly, you know, facing as many direct risks as Tara faces, but you know, what happens to a real agent, what needs to happen in a book to keep it entertaining are two different things. But they gave me so much good information. Of course, you know, I probably owe them a huge apology because I've taken all of it and stretched the truth until, you know.
No, this is fiction. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right, and she would probably get fired if she were a real IRS agent for the things that she does. She would probably have been canned a long time ago. But what makes a good IRS agent, what makes a good character for a book, again, are two different things. But they were extremely helpful. And one thing that I was just amazed by, you know, and again, I should know better having an accounting background. You know, I should know that not accountants are these nerdy, you know, people, especially after, you know, the ones that I faced at the Attorney General's office. But I did go in there expecting, you know, these are going to be very straight-laced, kind of dull people, and I was shocked. All of them were in incredibly good physical condition. In fact, they can work out on the clock because being in good shape it's kind of like, you know, a regular cop. They need to be in good shape because they are going to get in physical confrontations occasionally. They were all incredibly good-looking. They were attractive and just incredibly smart. I mean, I was very impressed. They were, you know, all type A all the way, these people. It was not what I expected, but I was incredibly impressed, and the information they gave me was just awesome. They were, you know, I owe them a lot for some of the authenticity in the books.
How did you get access to special aid? Did you just call and say, hi, can I talk to somebody who does this for a living?
Well, I got on the IRS website and just Googled public relations officer, and it came up with a name, and I just sent off, a little teaser saying, I'm writing a book about an IRS special agent, and I have some questions. And she said, okay, send me your list of questions, because of course they had to get them approved.
Sure.
They couldn't give me anything that was going to be, like one thing they couldn't answer was how many bullets in their clip. That was one thing they couldn't tell me.
Really?
Which really wasn't that, I was just curious. It wasn't probably something I had to know, but that question did not get approved. But when she emailed me back, she said, well, I can either email you the answers, or if you'd like to come talk to us, we'd be happy to talk to you. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm there. So, so it was amazing. It was, in fact, a lot of them came to my first book signing. I was thrilled by that.
Of course, now you're on the radar.
You know what though? I am the most anal retentive person in the world. I have every receipt for everything that I do. If they ever audited me, they'd probably be sorry, because I could bury them in paperwork. My file cabinet's about to collapse. So.
Well, the DEA, you also involve a DEA agent who is a sex pot.
Yeah.
And she's an undercover agent who she and Tara in this really bad neighborhood. And we haven't really said this, but this is set in Dallas.
Right.
So when people from either Texas or the Dallas area begin to read the book, they'll recognize the locations. And this is the area that's over by Fair Park.
Right, and I've even had people email me and say that they love reading about their area, and that they can visualize it, and they know exactly where I'm talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the ice cream man, they've heard that he's selling drugs, and so they do come out in just these skanky outfits, and here are the people across the street who are already involved in drugs. I mean, that was a very realistic sting, I thought, because I thought that that's the way that could happen. The ice cream man, what a description. He was so slimy.
That's another thing people have told me too, that I'm really good at description, and I had never thought about that before, but I think that's, a lot of the humor comes from description. That's kind of an easy place to slide in some humor, so I think that's why that kind of stuff hits home with the readers.
And it sounds like there wouldn't be humor. We're talking about the IRS, we're talking about the DEA, we're talking about drug dealing ice cream men, but it's hilarious because of the interplay between the characters, and in this case, the two female characters are in this terrible house, and they're doing yoga. I mean, I thought that was just hilarious. And there's this dog across the street that's this slavering beast that we're kind of nervous about. I mean, I thought that was just great fun. And watching how that unfolds, and the fact that Tara doesn't feel that she can open up about what she really does to this new love interest. You really have her torn about what to do, because Brett seems on the surface to be just this perfect guy. And then through a series of events, she sort of discovers a couple things and sees a couple things and hears a couple things, and she starts to question, who is this guy really?
Well,
we'll talk more about him.
Okay.
Don't go away. We'll talk more about death, taxes, and a French manicure. We'll tell you a little more about Tara Holloway. Be right back.
When I signed up to coach the team, honestly, my expectations were kind of low. I just wanted to finish the robot. They began to design angles and work out how to build robot arms and all of these things that real engineers do. They began to realize math is not their enemy. And now, a couple of them decided to major in engineering in college. What they thought they couldn't do, they realized they were great at.
Visit connectamillionminds.com to find out what you can do.
Wish your home phone could do more? Act a little more like a smartphone? You go to my services at timewarnercable.com and click on VoiceZone. There you'll be able to set up VoiceZone features, like having your home voicemail messages sent to your email, or sending caller ID numbers to your computer. Those are just two of the features that put you in control of your phone. If you already have digital home phone, VoiceZone is free of charge. I'm Chris. I can make your home phone smarter. I am Time Warner Cable.
So, I got this new family. And I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy.